This is to everybody who has suffered with toxic parents, is suffering with toxic parents. In fact, I have a set of questions from people who regularly DM me. This lady who told me, I am away from my parents, 3,000 kilometers away, but still they call and they bring in their toxicity into my life. So, Ji, first question is, are all strict parents toxic parents? Toxicity is heavily felt in a narcissistic household, right? Whatever they can grab, right? Where did those extra 2 marks go? Yeah, you are such a big disappointment to me. Sometimes when I open my DMs, it's like long stories. So they've taken time and effort and energy to type their family story to a random stranger. So imagine if somebody shows them love and affection from the other end. Is there a way out if I'm stuck with toxic parents? Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Stories with Maya Zamma with me, Swati Jagdish. And today I have again with me my bestie, Gotha Haripriya.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about something that is affecting so many people's childhood, teenage, young adulthood, older adulthood, old age, everything, which is living with toxic parents. So, you as a parenting coach, you are talking to people who want to guide their children in a gentle and respectful way. Majority of them would have had toxic parents.
Definitely.
Me, on the other hand, as a mental health professional, I am also seeing parents, even non-parents, coming up with so many mental health issues, and most of it can be rooted back to their childhood, wherein they would have been with toxic parents. So, this is to everybody who has suffered with toxic parents, is suffering with toxic parents. In fact, I have a set of questions from people who regularly DM me, who have toxic parents, who have specific questions related to life surrounding toxic parents. So, those questions also I will read out to you and we will answer them in whatever best way we can. Yeah. So, Ji, first question is, are all strict parents toxic parents?
Not exactly. So there's a huge difference between being strict and being toxic.
Okay.
Strictness is a parent being upset occasionally, being angry once in a while, and being firm with their boundaries. All of that comes under strict parenting.
Okay.
When it comes to toxic, that's a totally different thing because toxic parents are people who are consistently, on a regular basis, the child feels they are in a very negative environment, that they have to always walk on eggshells, that they have to always be scared, worried about the parent's reaction, where their child can't be peaceful at all within themselves around the parent. That becomes toxic parent.
Toxic. So, comparatively, if the parents were generally strict in childhood, the issues in adulthood is lesser,
Yes.
or even maybe none,
Yes.
compared to living in a toxic environment.
Definitely.
That's the summary, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, strict parents, the child still feels loved.
Ah.
In a toxic environment, the child doesn't feel loved or belonged or doesn't feel that connection at all.
Okay. So instead of love, they feel trauma bonded.
Yes.
Which is probably a complicated term for people who are starting to watch this, but probably when they keep listening to us, they will understand. Yes. So, what are some of the behaviors that we usually see in a toxic household?
First thing that immediately comes to my mind is the amount of control that the adult has over the child.
Okay.
The adult could use any technique, manipulation, scare tactics, all of that. But the child feels extremely controlled, where the child can't be themselves. Child can't express themselves. They can't say what they actually feel in that moment. So they feel that they have to always be under the parent. The child can never feel equal with another human being.
Okay. Something else that came to me is, there are households where parents don't talk much, share much. They are stonewalling and silent treatment, all of that. But compared to that, toxicity is heavily felt in a narcissistic household, right? Where one parent or both parents have narcissistic tendencies, or let's say they have narcissistic personality disorder itself, maybe if they are anywhere on the spectrum in that narcissism, I think there is where more toxicity is felt. What is your
Definitely, definitely. Because when a parent is narcissistic to some level on the spectrum, the parent has an elevated sense of self. So it's very difficult for a parent to treat a child as their equal or somebody on the same level.
Okay.
So there's always that high low that is felt in that household. And any person, doesn't matter the age, any person can sense that, okay, I'm not treated right in this space.
Yeah. So I think most of the characteristics of narcissistic people can be characteristics that are found in toxic parents.
Yes.
In most cases,
Mostly,
right?
yes,
Like
yes.
gaslighting. Oh, I never told that, right? So, or they will definitely do something, but will say that I never did it. You were also there, no, that time. When did I do it? So, in turn, making you question your own sanity and so Nanda Lusa, like that, right? And manipulation tactics, or love bombing also to a large
Such an
extent. No?
important.
Being very loving and caring for some time, but doing something and destroying the whole thing, and then maybe again then getting them back to the cycle so that they stay with them, they think that they are good parents, etc. And I think this is also something that a lot of people who grew up in toxic families, they have said, birthdays are ruined.
Anything special for the
Special
child, if the child
occasions.
is going on an excursion, the child has a trip with the friends, the parent cannot accept that the child is having a moment, a special moment, a big moment for themselves. It has to always be about the parent. Either the parent will have a superiority about it, or an inferiority, go into this self pity, defensive, oh, I'm not feeling well, oh, you don't take care of me, that guilt tripping, that's always there.
Yeah. And I think constantly criticizing the child, that is also something that toxic households will experience, no?
Yeah.
So I think those people are the adults today who grow up with a lot of perfectionism issues, and they are not able to meet their own standards. So if we dive into that, then it's an
Totally different. Whole
ocean
new.
of
Yeah.
information.
There's
So
one more thing. You didn't talk about the actual violence that happens in toxic
oh
households.
my God, yeah.
That's a big thing. Probably because we were not exposed to so much violence while growing up. But even today, I see so many households are physically violent. Leave alone what we spoke now was emotionally being violent. But physical, actual violence happens in a lot of households. So that is a huge sign of toxic.
Once I remember having a discussion on my Instagram feed, and people have spoken about being hit with belts. I know this can be triggering to a lot of people. If it is, then please stay away from the conversation for some time and get back when you feel grounded. So being hit with whatever they can grab, right? I've heard of stories where they got chili powder spread on their eyes, made to stand outside the house, stripped naked. Issue in eating means made to eat more food. Stuffing them with food, making them feel like vomitish, pukish. Very strict, not even strict, very harsh, violent punishment strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and another end is harming themselves, the parent themselves.
Yeah.
Those dialogues, that even in one of our videos we also told, no, I will die.
I'll kill myself. If only you don't do this, I'll kill myself. Or if you do this, I'll kill myself.
Yeah. So death is a constant
Threat in toxic households.
Yeah. And what are some of the other dialogues that come into your mind? I gave birth to you.
You were the biggest mistake of my life. உன்னை பெத்ததுக்கு நான் எருமை வாங்கி போட்டிருப்பேன். Imagine how that must make the child feel, as if the child asked to be born.
Yeah, true. And after you were born only my misery started. Before that, life was really hunky-dory for me. You are the one that is making me angry all the time. Yeah, so
you're making me become this volatile monster. Only because of you I'm this monster.
Yeah.
They're like that. Just putting it on the child.
Yeah. So now I have some questions that are frequently asked questions from youngsters. I'm just going to read them one by one and we are going to answer them however best we can. Okay, so number one question I get is from students, teenagers, or financially non independent folks. So they talk about being stuck with toxic parents. What can be done, ma'am?
I think first thing is having some distance.
Okay.
Physically and emotionally. So physically, if they're in the same house, probably they can spend more time doing things that they like. Inge poren class, I have this class, I have to be part of that project. Or even if you're not allowed to go outside the house, even inside the house, make sure you have your own corner, your own space.
I'm studying.
I'm studying. Yeah. Yes, it helps in keeping one book inside there. Another book. But that physical distance really helps a lot because you're giving them lesser opportunities to, attack you.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the emotional distance these people can have.
Yeah, I mean, expect no validation from them. Don't think that if you study well, they are suddenly going to come and appreciate you. They will, but the very next moment they'll put you down also. Where did those extra 2 marks go? Yeah, you are such a big disappointment to me, only getting 80%, all of that. So don't expect any validation from them, is something that I would say. Be in your own turf, do your own thing, emotionally disconnect from the toxic parent, whoever it is.
Yeah.
If both parents are toxic, then I know the situation is very bad, but there's no other go.
Yep.
Yeah.
What
about-
else?
I think them getting into other toxic relationships might also happen, no?
Yeah, that's a huge possibility because, like we spoke in our previous episode, there is a huge chance that we will find a partner which is very similar to our own parent. So, which means that we could again fall for somebody who's emotionally unavailable or emotionally challenged.
Friends also might be toxic sometimes.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
Because
Friendships-
familiarity
Yes,
is
yes.
there.
We like the drama, we like the disconnect. So, not like, but we are used to this. So, we think this is normal.
Yeah.
So, it's very easy for us to connect or be attracted to our normal.
Yeah.
So, it's always helpful that we speak to somebody who's more mature,
Yeah.
who school counselors.
We'll
now,
talk
college.
about it.
Okay.
What about online safety? That's again something that came into my mind because a lot of these youngsters that are DMing me or you, or even random influencers and all, they are DMing, telling their issues. And sometimes when I open my DMs, it's like long stories. So they've taken time and effort and energy to type their family story to a random stranger. So imagine if somebody shows them love and affection from the other end. These kids are the kids that are more susceptible to grooming and even sexual grooming for that matter.
Yeah, anything can happen. Emotional grooming, sexual grooming. It's very easy for them to go attach themselves in a very unhealthy way to another adult who shows even the littlest bit of decency. So they misunderstand decency to be something very big and they could get into a lot of trouble because of that. So they need to watch out for that, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the next question that I constantly get. So I'm stuck with them means these are the things that they can do because they are not financially
Independent for now.
to do anything. Yeah.
Saving up. They can start saving up little amounts as and when they get pocket money, or they can start taking up some side gigs where they, where they start making their own source of income.
Yeah, those are things they can try. Next question is something related to that little bit that you spoke about in the previous segment, which is mental health. Okay, so the questions are related to therapy. I don't have money for therapy. Everybody is suggesting therapy only, but I'm just a student or I'm not earning currently. What do I do?
So that's true. As somebody who's not making money, I think therapy could be very expensive. At least one-on-one coaching or one-on-one therapy could be expensive. So in that case, there are so many other NGOs that offer these group options where there are group sittings together. They could look out for that. I think in even small cities, awareness is on the rise today.
We did, no, Coimbatore Parenting Network. We multiple times we did programs for 100 rupees, 200 rupees and all. Yeah.
Yes.
I think once when we did out of syllabus, more than 2,000 people participated. I think during pandemic we did a program, no?
Yes,
We did a program with almost 16 speakers and a lot of youngsters participated.
Lot of youngsters.
So they can look out for such programs. I would say.
That is there. Then books.
Yeah.
podcasts.
So many books and
Yeah,
podcasts on.
so today these it was not like that when we were growing up,
Oh, there was
right?
nothing.
There's nothing. It was like you were in a dry, barren land. Only one or few drops of water was there. But today, it's a flood, and they can be very mindful of the content that they consume instead of randomly distracting themselves. No, I'm not saying that that's bad. They can, but also they can balance it out with good mental health content online. Books. So many ebooks are available today. So if you're on the lookout, I'm sure they will find the resources.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I'd like to suggest as a mental health professional is many schools have started off with having school counselors.
Oh yeah.
So they can make use of the school counselors. But there is a downside. Once I've got a DM from a teenager and she sent an audio message, which I actually put it on my feed also. I changed her voice.
Okay.
And then I put that audio. In that audio, she had mentioned, I'm scared of the school counselor because school counselors sometimes contact the parents.
Oh.
So in that case, if you are a psychologist or a sociology or an MSW person who is working in a school as a school counselor, you need to be mindful about which students to talk about at home and which students to keep confidential.
Yes.
Right? Because these toxic parents, if the child or the counselor gets back that the child is telling all these things, then how will they open up to anybody?
More difficulty
More
for the
trauma
child
only.
in the child.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is something I would ask schools to consider. Please have somebody, at least for the sake of these children who are in very bad households, but make sure that confidentiality is maintained for at least these kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay, life-threatening issues, sexual abuse, and all you need to report to
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
parents.
yeah.
No other
Yes,
go.
yes.
But these kind of things can be handled more sensitively, I feel.
Yes.
And one more thing I would suggest youngsters to do is if you know there is something called mental health, you have to take care of it. It is like physical health only.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just like you will not wantedly go and jump in a ditch and enjoy yourself physically, you shouldn't wantedly, do things to do things that impact your mental
Health.
Like don't go without food just because you had a fight with your toxic
Yeah,
parent. Oh, I won't eat. Don't do such things. They are anyway not going to understand. Or don't sacrifice your sleep. Again, teenagers actually need a lot more sleep than adults. So please don't sacrifice your sleep, your time, your energy, eating habits. Make sure that you are on track when it comes to mental health, I would say.
And also substance, depending on substances, because that's becoming a rampant thing these days.
Yes, yeah.
I know it's very easy for you to say that because I grew up in such a household, I am,
Addicted
to this. But I think in the long run, at least from where we look at it, it's not going to be beneficial for you in the long run. So
Because addiction also is a place where people run away to hide from pain.
yes, yeah,
Pain
and
that
shame.
is pain and shame that is making people addicted to substances or anything for that matter, even porn and everything. So distraction once in a while is good, but make sure that it doesn't become a habit or an addiction, an obsession. And one other thing I'd like to share is there are some very good friends in class with whom they can share.
Yeah.
In all classes, I'm sure there is one or two very mature, very
Sorted, grounded.
therapist counselor vibes kudukra friends are there. I was one such friend for my classmates.
You're the agony aunt.
Agony aunt who is open to discussions about these kind of things. They would have an extra knack for advising or giving suggestions or even support. So that will also help. And teachers. Sometimes good teachers are there.
teachers, yeah.
So these are the things that you can try out. Next question, G. Can I go share about my parents' toxicity to my parents?
To themselves.
Ah.
Okay, to go and talk to them about them. Oh, you were this toxic parent to me.
You are impacting me, my mental
You're
health.
hurting me. Yeah. I don't think that's going to work. Because in the first place, if the parent had the sensitivity to it or the ability to self-reflect, am I being hurtful?
Then they won't be toxic.
They
in the
won't
first
be
place.
toxic in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably it might not help. It'll actually, in fact, end up hurting the child even more. The more they try talking, the more
They'll get defensive, no?
defensive. They'll gaslight. They'll say, I did no such thing. You're so ungrateful. So it could in fact impact the child even
How much
more.
I did for you, and now
Look
you're
at what
you're
you're-
talking about me being bad, no?
Mm-hmm.
So what all I'm doing for you, I'm earning for you only, I'm living this life for you only. Those kind of things will come up, right? Yeah. And self-reflection is something that everybody need to be aware of. See, there is a mirror in front of every human being which will actually show them the impact of what they're doing. So mostly people who are anywhere on the toxic spectrum will not have it. They'll not have a mirror that will tell them that they're actually, in fact, impacting somebody else.
Yes.
And something that you need to understand is empathy will be very less, because if they had empathy center working very well in their brain, they wouldn't have controlled you and wouldn't have abused you in the first place, like you said. Yeah, so you can go talk if you want, but
Don't expect results.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another question I get often is, how can I establish small boundaries with my toxic parents? Is it even possible?
I think small ones are possible. Adum, I think it should happen in a way that the parent is not triggered. I know it's not the right thing to say, but considering the circumstance that they are in, I think the child has to
But I
learn to
think
be
basic
smart.
things like, please don't shout. Without shouting, please tell me, Amma, I will.
Please don't raise your voice. At
It's
least in our households, it's normal where the child can talk back, say these things. So I think even if they begin today, even if they're young adults and they begin today, I think somewhere that window might open up. Okay, I shouldn't scream.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for me to hear when your voice is so high. So when things like that can be said. What else? I think they can talk about. Most of these children get yelled at because things didn't happen at the time that the adult wanted it to happen, that they didn't come down to eat at that time, they didn't leave to a particular function at that particular time. So I think time is a huge trigger point
So I
for
think
toxic
children
parents.
can ask for a timetable, no?
Yeah, that can happen.
Children or teenagers, if you're watching, you can ask for a timetable. Tell me what I'm supposed to do at what point of
time?
time.
Yep.
So I'll do it, and you stick to it, please.
Don't create unnecessary drama.
Unnecessary drama don't create. Yeah.
One more thing is we notice that these children tend to become more rebellious.
Oh, yes. All the time.
Yeah, because they're not able to, because they'll feel out of control of their own lives in their homes. They kind of tend to become more rebellious around anything and everything.
Yes.
In other environments. So
Yeah.
that is one thing that you need to keep at
Unnecessary
tab
risk
of.
taking is something that kids who grow up in these households usually do. Yeah.
As in itself, teenage is a time where the impulse control is very
Yes,
less in
yes,
brains for anybody, irrespective of the kind of household that you grew up in. And for teenagers who grew up in such households, I think it's even more easy for them to,
Yes.
let me do it here, let me try it. Where they don't have the boundaries controlling them, then they just let go.
Basically, be in their good books.
Yeah, parents good books. I know it's not the ideal thing to say, but at least till you get out and be independent on your own, be smart and sensible that you navigate these situations.
Yeah. It's so sad they are not able to be children and teenagers, and they have to think so matured, and
They have to become adults from a very young age.
Yeah.
So their
They have to
childhood
look
is
out for
for themselves.
that's sad, I know. Another question, again, something I frequently get is, will I become like my own parent? I'm scared to become a parent.
Not exactly, not really. From what I see or from where I see, from the interactions I've had with my parents, the idea of them wanting to be a kind, gentle parent itself is coming from their own past childhoods. So I think there is a huge percentage probability that you end up being the opposite of your parent because of the kind of hurt and struggles that you've gone through in your childhood. So a parent who is conscious, who wants to do things differently, is today looking out for so many resources, so many classes, so many mental health professionals they seek out. And I think they kind of sort themselves out, and then they are okay. They turn out to be good parents.
Yeah. Yeah, I also have the same opinion. I'm also seeing the same bunch in my workshops also. People who want to do different things. I had this kind of a childhood, so I don't want. So at least they will learn how not to be a parent. So
Exactly.
that is only happening. So 100% I feel if you take effort, you will never end up like your parent. You will end up like somebody else only, opposite only. Yeah. So don't worry about that. And I think that's a big factor why a lot of youngsters don't want to become parents, no? Because of this fear that will I be like them?
Am I genetically influenced to be this person? No,
Yeah.
not
No,
really.
that's not going to happen. You only need that self reflection. If you have that mirror of self reflection, I feel they'll manage.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm 19, I might be in love with someone exactly like my dad. So this is also something that you just spoke about, which
spoke
is
about.
ending up with somebody who resembles
Yeah.
the toxic parent.
Because it feels safe. Because it feels like
Familiar.
comfort, familiar. A sense of already knowing that.
Yeah.
So there is a huge probability of children who grew up in these homes to be attracted or to be in a friendship also, to be in a friendship relationship with somebody who's toxic and we are trauma bonded to them. So I think a few trial and error. It can't be that immediately they're sorted. At least a few relationships they will get and be in bad relationships, but at least I want you to be conscious that this is something that I'm susceptible to. So before getting into any relationship or friendship, always have that filter to think that
Yeah.
is this okay? Is this healthy? How is this person treating me? How do I feel about myself in the presence of this person?
Yeah.
All of these are reflections you can have.
So mental health wise, yes, your nervous system might tend to repeat the same pattern over and over again because body likes a rhythm, a pattern, so it'll want to stick to it. But if you're, she said, aware of it, conscious of it, you can change the pattern. Let's say after 2 bad relationships, you will suddenly realize I'm
happening?
attracting the same kind of person again and again, so something is off. So let me work on it. That's when people do their inner work, their inner child healing. They try to figure out what kind of attachment wounds they've had.
Yep.
And we already had a video on marriage, dating, romance, etc. Please watch that video. She would have explained attachment styles in it. So all that they can do. Yes, so you will attract somebody like your parent. Possibilities are there, but you can undo it. Yes. Another very common question I get, I'm just a teenager, so obviously more DMs from teenagers. Is there a way out if I'm stuck with toxic parents? Solution.
Solution I see is them becoming financially independent at some point,
Time
moving
is a
out.
solution.
Time is a huge thing that will really help them. Another solution is for them to have some amount of self-reflection practice, self-awareness practice. I don't mean meditation, but some place where you sit with yourself, sit in silence to know who you actually are. Why that's important is because a big pain point for these youngsters is this criticism and putting down that they get from the parent. So then there is a constant questioning within them about who am I? Am I good enough? Am I worthy?
Am I worthy?
All of these questions they keep getting. So once you kind of know who you are, what you are on the inside, then I think whatever is coming from the outside really doesn't penetrate into us and make us go really low.
Yeah. So I think it's good to have a yoga practice or a meditation practice. No, if possible, if your school has that program, then I think you should enroll for it.
Yeah.
Something of that sort will help. And exercising or sports activities, especially,
Sports really helps.
really helps. Extracurriculars, anything.
Social
to,
time.
Yeah.
Being with not
Good
just sitting with
community.
your friends, finding a good community where all age group people are there. Like you have an elder sister there, elder brother there, parent like figure there. So when you get that family like community outside, I think that really helps.
Yeah, yeah. So the ultimate solution is being financially independent and getting out of this toxic environment, because I don't think they can thrive in a toxic environment.
Not possible for any human being.
Yeah. So we are concluding, but one main question before we conclude: people like us, not students, not teenagers, financially not too bad. I mean, doing something of our own or can do something in this stage when we have a partner, our own family, our own children, still the presence of toxic parents around or toxic in-laws, that environment so many people are in.
Yep. Yeah.
So how do they navigate that kind of an environment when I'm an adult but I'm still stuck with toxic parents, or I get to interact with toxic parents, I get to meet them, or I'm living with them?
All of these points, no? All of these points are still valid even for adults like us who have children of our own. Emotional distance, physical distance, having super good boundaries. I think you can speak a little bit more about boundaries. What else? That self-awareness, knowing who we are, what our priorities are.
Yeah.
Because now that we have our own child, we are responsible for our own mental health, right? So we are in a place where we have to parent ourselves, our child. So we have to cut ourselves loose from parenting our parents also. So I think taking care of them is okay. I'm not saying that we should completely avoid them, cut ties. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that emotional dependence that we have on them, that if it comes down, it brings us a lot of inner peace.
Can you speak about validation also?
Validation, I think expecting from them, I think again, like what we told the young adults is very true. The more we expect validation from them, where they come and say, oh, you're parenting so well, you're doing things so differently, that's never going to happen. They don't
Kirippa.
have it's not that they don't want to say it, it's just that they don't know that such a thing exists, how
And also it
valuable
may
it is.
trigger them, no?
Very much.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this? Why
What
is this
kind of new Google parenting you're doing?
you're doing? Yeah.
This and all won't work. Your child will end up being a spoiled brat. Right, yeah.
For somebody who's unhealthy, health will be very triggering.
That's true, that's true.
So,
So, yeah, from boundary angle also, the same thing. I mean, develop emotional boundaries and energy boundaries. That's something I would say. Emotional boundaries in the sense, we would have grown up listening to, you made me angry, because of you only I whacked you. We should grow up into adults that have emotional boundaries, means we should understand that somebody else's emotions are not in my control.
Yep.
Their emotions they have to handle, because that emotion is arising from within them, not from me. My activities should not be ideally, unless it is directly aimed at targeting them or attacking them or shaming them, then of course that will affect them. But if I'm just standing up for myself, I think why should somebody else get triggered, right? Then it has to do with them.
Yeah.
So emotions arise within another person. I cannot be responsible for your digestion. I cannot be responsible for your respiration or your constipation or whatever. So I cannot be responsible for your emotion.
Yeah.
Your anger, your irritability and all you need to handle. So that level of emotional maturity, if an adult has to have, they have to work on their emotional boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is there. Number 2 is energy boundaries. So physically keeping them away, that will help a lot. I can't stop but think of this lady who told me, I am away from my parents 3,000 kilometers away, but still they call and they bring in their toxicity into my life. A lot of people, even if they are NRIs, parents and in-laws torture them from overseas.
Yeah.
So that is also happening. Again, that energy boundary.
Why is that happening? Because there is a space that we give them for them to do that, right? So if we have better boundaries, by boundaries, she always doesn't mean like you have a brick wall. Its boundaries are very different. It's not like we are cutting ties or avoiding, ignoring them or hurting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boundaries should help you make the relationship be better, not bad. So, am I ready for this phone call now? Am I in a good mental space to have a conversation with this person? Because I know for sure this conversation is going to go for an hour.
Yes.
They're going to tell a lot of complaints. They're going to criticize me. So, am I ready for that? So, that level of energetic understanding is very important.
Very important.
And I feel all adults have to have some sort of regulation practice, emotional regulation practice, meditation, yoga, journaling, mindfulness, something or the other, so that they are in tune with what they are feeling, so that they can accommodate another toxic individual into their life if they want to accommodate. Again, I know people that have completely severed ties. That is also there. But let's say, for example, you want to meet them for Pongal or Diwali is coming up. You have to meet them. Then this kind of a healthy arrangement only will work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the best to all the adults that are stuck with toxic parents. Unfortunately, nothing much can be done. You have to navigate the situation and stand up for yourself and your family and your children by not sacrificing your mental health. I think that's it. So yet another beautiful conversation, G. Thank you so much. This is something that a lot of youngsters need because they can't get therapy or coaching from anybody. So I hope these inputs helped you. We'll see you in another beautiful, brilliant episode. I'm sending everybody a lot of healing vibes, okay? Lot of love from me and G. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.